Hello friends, we have started new series in English, The Greatest Economist. Today we will discuss about the French economist Francois Quesnay, known for the public economics and foundation of ideas of physiocrats. In this series, we firstly discuss about the father of economics, Adam Smith. Second topic we discuss on the greatest theoretical economist all time, David Ricardo. Third topic we discuss on winner of Nobel Memorial Prize in Economic Science in 1998 and Bharat Ratna awarded 1999 on Amartya Kumar Sen. Fourth topic we discuss on father of scientific socialism Karl Marx. And now today we are discussing on French economist Francois Quesnay. As economists, they analyze various topics related to how the country get more growth related GDP, per capita income, production, distribution, and consumption, and they make the news theory on the nation growth. As economist is an expert who study the relationship between the society resources and its production. The role of the economist include analyzing data, include the economics indications such the gross domestic product and the consumer confidence survey. And this series we explore how the Quesnay play important role as a French economist and study why we are study on the economics for the Francois Quesnay. Physiocracy is a school of thoughts founded by the Francois Quesnay, and he was court physician to King Louis XV. Quesnay developed the notion of the economic equilibrium, a concept of the frequently used as the point of departure for the subsequent economics analysis. Quesnay believed that the trade and industry were not a source of wealth and instead in his 1758 manuscript Public Economy argued that the agriculture surplus by flowing thoughts of the economy in the form of the rent, wages and purchases were the real economic movers. Physiocrats thinking about the economic event advocated that nature in particular land and water were the real sources of the economic wealth. But this early interest in the resources use was the mainly instigated by the productive contribution of the physical resources to economic activity. Francois Quesnay was published the Public Economy in the 1758, which provide the foundation of the ideas of the physiocrats. Francois Quesnay acknowledged three economic classes in France. Firstly, proprietary. Proprietary class consisting of the only landowners. Second, productive class of the agriculture owner. And third, sterile class of merchant. Quesnay saw no benefit to the sterile classes and they believed the productive to be all importance. Quesnay theory work on based on the Quesnay's concept believed that only the agriculture sector could produce a surplus that could they use to produce more the next year and therefore help the growth industry and manufacturing. Thoughts the Quesnay were the sterile. Interesting of this concept, thoughts he did not reach this conclusion by the consulting his table. Francois Quesnay is best known for the public economy, the proposition that only agriculture generate a positive net product and this the industry is sterile. He is recommended the single taxes on the ground rent and invented the slogan laissez faire, laissez passe. He was the first to found the school of economists called the physiocrats. Francois Quesnay founded the economic school called the physiocrats. In this context, the school of physiocracy is not a physical institute but a school of thoughts. Physiocracy was one of the two prevailing schools of economic thoughts in the Enlightenment, the other being mercantilism. School of thoughts, a set of the guiding the principle that describe the perspective of the group of the people to share opinion, outlook, or discipline. Laissez-faire described the Francois Quesnay believed that was the economy best interest of for the government to the say out of it. He also felt land was the use determine the wealth of nation. Agriculture and land development were the considered natural sources of the wealth, where taxation was the barrier to the increase it. The theories of the physiocrats were the pursues the modern economic concept like free market, capitalism and free trade. Francois Quesnay was born in France near Paris, where he was the 16 years old. He moved to the Paris properly in order to the study medicine. At the time of the Enlightenment, being a surgeon would have the race into the wealthier middle class as opposed to the peasant class he was born into. He started his career as apprentice and continued to work the study of the throughout his life in this medical profession. In 1744, he graduated as a medicine doctor and was the made physician in the ordinary to King Louis XV. He lived in the palace of the Versailles along with the rest of the king courts. He developed an interest in economy while living at the Versailles. At the age of 60, he published his first few article on the subject. In 1755, published the Tableau Economique, which outlined his circular view on the economy and provide the basis for physiocrats' view of economy. Tableau economy historiography is known about the Tableau economies in the diagram on the theory, the likely neatly tied up in the cyclical natural order, almost too well tied. In taking a modern look in the Tableau economy, historians notice that the Francois Quesnay adapted some his figure so they will fit his philosophy. Public economy theory was based on the idea that the only agriculture and land produced wealth for the French economy. Therefore, when the construction of the public economy, he ensured that the figure matched that is the already believed in the chart look as the agriculture and land create the natural cycle of the wealth while industry is the dead end. To know more about the Quesnay, basic information is he was French economist born in 4 June 1694 in Versailles, death 16 December 1774 at age 80 in Versailles. He was ruled in era age of enlightenment. He was region Western philosophy and French philosophy. He worked field in physiocrats. His main interest in political economy and his notable idea is laissez faire and public economy. Before learn about the Quesnay's thoughts, we must know about the three methods of doctrine. Firstly, mercantilism, second, physiocracy, and third, difference between mercantilism and physiocracy and era of the Adam Smith. Then we betterly know about the concept of Francois Quesnay's concept. Firstly, we are discussing about the concept of mercantilism, the dominant system of the economic thoughts that prevailed in Europe from 16th to 18th century was the mercantilism. It's known by the different name in the different countries. In England, it's called the commercial system or mercantilism system. Second, in France, known as the Colbert system. Name of the Colbert, he was the finance minister of the Louis the 14th. In Germany and Austria, it's called the cameralism. It's also known as the Bullionism because of the importance given to gold and silver. Mercantilist thinking did not form a group advocating a fixed line of the thoughts and policy. They were businessmen, merchant, administration in different countries. They left a number of the pamphlets and the paper regarding economic problem. Only the later economists have the analyzed their the writing and founding the certain uniformly in their the ideas and policies have the group then the together as mercantilist. Some economic, politically, religious, and cultural factors were responsible for this of mercantilism system. Main ideas of the mercantilism firstly is wealth given importance. The fundamental aim to the mercantilist was to make the country strong. The strength of the country was to found the wealth of the country, especially that the portion of the wealth which consists of the precious metal like gold and silver. Second most given importance in foreign trade, the mercantilist theory of the foreign trade is known as the balance of the trade theory. The aim of this theory was to get a large amount of the precious metal. Foreign trade was considered to the only source for getting gold and silver. Third mainly idea given importance in commerce and industry, the mercantilists considered the commerce and industry as the most important branches of the nation economy. They wanted to increase the national product efficiency of main of the regulation in industry and commerce. Fourth main idea is population. Mercantilists encouraged the large population for the making the national nation military strong and increase the productive capacity. Fifth, main concept or focus to natural resources. The mercantilist wanted to utilize the all natural resources to the maximum extent to us the produce more, export more and import less. Next main ideas is interest. No unanimity state among the mercantilist writers on the subject of interest. Next important concept, taxation. Mercantilism favored to the multiple taxes system based on the principle each should pay according to the benefit received from the state. Next main idea is theory of value. Value was thus the considered to the different from price. Scarcity also determined the value of the commodity. Next main factor of production. Mercantilists recognize the three important factors of the production: land, labor, and capital. Next main ideas is commercial regulation. Mercantilists believe that the commercial regulation were the essential for the maximum social welfare. And mercantilist last important concept work on this concept role of state. The mercantilists regarded the state as the surplus supreme power for the controlling the activities of the people. Now we are discussing decline of the mercantilist system or doctrine. After rule 150 to 200 years, mercantilism declined due to the many reasons under the influence of the teaching of Smith. Policy of the plenty began to replace the policy of the power. The development of the banking reduced the importance of the bullion and coins. Further, the expansion of the market economy showed that the real estate, factories, and the machinery were more important ideas of the wealth than the gold and silver. The economic growth that took the place during the Industrial Revolution made the society to raise competition. It was realized that the wealth of the nation could increase simultaneously by the efficient utilizations of the natural resources and through the process made in the science and technologies. Secondly, most important doctrine role in the almost 40 years, and we know about the founder of the physiocracy, Francois Quesnay. Meaning of the physiocracy is a work. Physiocracy is the collective name of these the economic principles and policy which developed in France in the middle of the 18th century. Physiocracy is also known as the agriculture system. Economic thinkers who contribute to growth and development of the physiocracy have been called as physiocrats. The physiocrats have been regarded as the founder of the economic science because they were the first to grasp the general principle underlying the economic phenomena and they involve the theoretical system. Physiocracy is also remarked as the first school of economic thoughts. The term physiocracy means rule of nature. Physiocracy may be defined a reaction against the mercantilism and is the concept. The physiocrats believe that the mercantilism policies instead of the doing any goods have done great harm to the nation, so they revolt against the mercantilist policies. The influential French school of thinker of the early 18th century was led by the Quesnay and Turgot. They believed the existence of the natural law which govern the universe. Their emphasis on the agriculture has earned for their the system of the thoughts the name agriculture school. In 1750, France provided a favorable climate for the emergence of the physiocrats ideas. There were the many economics, political, and social factors that were the responsible for the rise of the physiocracy. Firstly, physiocracy was the essentially revolt of the French against the mercantilism under the Colbert, the famous finance minister of France. Mercantilism was carried to the extreme degree. As a result, where was a neglect the agriculture and lot of government regulation. So there was a need to the economic theory to provide that the mercantilism policies were not favorable for the progress and the wealth of nation. The physiocrats provide the theoretical basis to attack mercantilism. Secondly, the tax system of France was corrupt, inefficient and injustice. The noble and the Cherubim was owned the early two-thirds of the land. Burden of the taxation on the poor was very heavy, and poor were affected by the taxes like salt tax, poll tax. Third main concept was the finance of the French government was the bad condition, the unnecessary war and the luxurious court life of King Louis XIV and XV made of the government bankrupt, so government started the borrowing loan. Fourth, the French farmer were exploited by the noble and landlord in the number of the way. The landlord took the large share of the produce. The government levied the heavy taxes upon the farmers. Fifth, main ideas were the general economic condition of the France were also unfavorable. Quesnay served as the consulting physician to King Louis XV at Versailles. Late in life, he developed an interest in economics, publishing the first book on the subject in his 60s. Quesnay's system of the political economy was the sum up with the Tableau Economique in published 1758, which diagrammed the relation between the different economic classes and sector of economic society and the flow of the income payment between them. In his Tableau Quesnay developed the notion of the economic equilibrium. The concept of the frequently used the point of departure for the subsequent economic analysis of the explicit importance was is identification of the capital that as the stock of wealth that had to be accumulated in advance of production. His classification of these avances distributed between the fixed and circulated capital. As the originator of this the term laissez-faire, laissez-passer, Quesnay believed in the opposition of this the dominant French mercantilism of Colbert, that high taxes, high internal tolls, and high barrier to imported to goods were the causes of the grinding French poverty he saw around him. Quesnay wanted to Louis XV, the king from 1715 to 1774. He deregulated the trade and the slashed taxes so that France could start the emulated weathering the Britain. Methodology of the Quesnay physiocratic system and his principle of the policy sprang from the extreme form of the doctrine in natural law, which he believed represented the divinely appointed economic order. He was indeed one of the originated the 19th century doctrine of the harmony of the classes, interest and the related doctrine. The maximum social satisfaction occur under the free competition. Quesnay's main work in economics in 1758 he published the Tableau Economics which provide the foundation of the ideas of the physiocrats. This was perhaps the first work to attempt to describe the working of the economy in analytic way. The such way can be viewed as the one of the first important contribution to economic thoughts. The public economy thoughts the accounts of its dryness and abstract form is made with the little general favor, may be considered the principle of manifesto of the school. It was regarded by the followers of the Quesnay as the entitled to the place among the foremost product of the human wisdom. Next point is Orientalism and China. Quesnay is a known for the writing in Chinese political and society. Writing in 1767 described his view on the Chinese imperial system. He was supportive to the meritocratic concept of the given scholar political power without the cumbersome aristocracy that is characterized French politics, and the importance of the agriculture to the welfare of the nation. Quesnay praised the China to the constitutional disposable and openly advocated the adoption of the Chinese institution include standardization system of the taxation and universal education. Next point is taxation. Quesnay acknowledged three economic classes in France: proprietary classes considered only the landowner, productive class of the agriculture worker, and the sterile class of merchant. Quesnay saw the no benefit to the sterile classes and believed to the productive to be important. Quesnay viewed the France agriculture as a backward and unproductive compared to the Britain during this time was residing in the Palace of Versailles. Despite residing in the palace, Quesnay believed agriculture was the heart of the economy and special important to him. Quesnay argued that these taxes placed on the cultivators are the only harmful to the society as these taxes will reduce the incentive for the agriculture production. Taxing proprietors does not destroy the means of the production, meaning there is no decline in output. Quesnay wanted the proprietors to bear the full burden of these the taxes in the countries as the taxing cultivation is a negative consequence for this everyone. Removing incentive from the cultivation reduce agriculture production and the agriculture surplus. Quesnay believed to the heart of the economy. Quesnay also opposed the indirect taxes in contracts and direct taxes. The indirect taxes are the place for the French public by proprietors, whose greed demanded immunity for taxation. Direct taxes on proprietors has no impact on the production, reproduction, and economic decline. Reducing indirect taxes and increasing direct taxes given to the French as the surplus agriculture and the funding the country needs. However, this opinion was not very popular among the wealthy, of which Quesnay spent time regularly with his spent some his time fearing for his life in the palace. Next point is public economy. Quesnay, his detail is a famous zigzag diagram in circulation flow diagram of the economy that show the who the produce what and who spend what. And the attempt to the understand is explained in causes of the growth. Public economy defined the three classes: landowner, farmer, and other called sterile. These sterile classes who the consumed the everything the produced and left the no surplus for the next period. Quesnay believed that the only the agriculture sector could produce a surplus that could then they use the produce more the next year and therefore help growth. Industry and manufacturing thoughts the Quesnay were sterile. Interestingly, thoughts he did not reach these conclusions by the consulting his table. Instead, Quesnay construct the table to fit his belief. Indeed, he had to make his table consistent in order to fit the assumption that the industry provide no surplus. Now we are discussing main concept physiocracy and mercantilism. What is the difference? Is in physiocracy believe the agriculture was the ultimate source of the wealth for the nation. Opposite side, mercantilism believe trade and industry was the ultimate source of wealth for nation. Here, physiocracy is important given the value lies in the production, emphasis on the agriculture as the means to produce profit. In this opposite, mercantilism value lies in the exchange, emphasis on the manufacturing as a means to the provide and trade goods. Here, physiocracy believe in the laissez-faire and natural order, less government interference. Opposite, mercantilism believe in control and regulation, more governmental interference. Physiocracy active only France, no, no increase in other countries. In this opposite, mercantilism active in many European nations such as England, Germany, France, Italy, and Austria. Physiocracy emphasis on this rural pastoral. Opposite, mercantilism emphasis on the urban areas like cities. So now we are discussing why decline physiocracy. Physiocracy was the revolt of the French people against the mercantilism. It is a form of the angle we have to judge the economic ideas of the physiocrats. While the mercantilism were the acquired with the gold and physiocrats emphasizes real wealth in the form of the raw product. In this concept, physiocrats in the general regarded a foreign trade as evil, while the mercantilism believed in this regulation of the trade and industry, the physiocrats suggested freedom of the trade and industry. Physiocrats were the wrong in the considering agriculture alone with the productive occupations. Commerce and industry are the equally important in the production. The physiocrats had wrong ideas of the production. They regarded manufacture as the unproductive, although the creates the utility. Further, the physiocrats were the mainly responsible for this wrong classification of the labor into productive and unproductive concept. The greatest defect in the physiocrats doctrine is the absence of the any reference of the value. The physiocrats suggest a complete freedom of the trade and industry, but absolute freedom of the trade is not advisable. Physiocrats was the developed in only agriculture sector. They regarded land as the only the source of wealth. We saw the doctrine work in mercantilism 150 to 200 years after physiocrats work in France in almost 40 years. After that, some reason both the doctrine decline in the different concept and different reason. After that, the era is started in Adam Smith and work in systematically. Adam Smith, he is the one of the man. He systematically work and balance the presentation not of the great news ideas, but the man who carefully investigated the given data, criticized them the sensibility and coordination and justification arrive the which other the which have the already been the established. Adam Smith controlled the all ideas of the in his book Wealth of Nation. The most important aspect of this book was the theory of economic development. Physiocracy come into the existence due to the mercantilism. They believe in science of the natural law and emphasize the signification of the agriculture and contented that is the only industry that can make the country wealthy. Adam Smith's Wealth of Nation was scientific not because the content of the absolute truth, but because it's come the turning point, beginning of the all the come after the it was the end of the all that comes before. In this video, we cover all the related concepts of Francois Quesnay. So we will see you in next topic with next greatest economist. Please give me your feedback related this topic. So thank you.